Are there constructive things that you can do to help restore a culture of life? Find out next on this edition of Life Matters with Brian Johnston. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives, as California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Pro-Life Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on life, culture, and the battle of ideas. And there's a very real battle going on all around you. And if you're not ready, you're going to lose. And this battle really is for lives. Actual lives are at stake in the battle of ideas. So we want to equip you to be successful in this battle and to bring the battle to your enemies. Again, we're not battling against people. We love them. But sometimes they have the wrong ideas, and when they implement those ideas, it literally kills human beings. In the case of abortion, in the case of infanticide, in the case of euthanasia. And if you want to protect those that can't protect themselves, you need to be ready for this battle of ideas. So today I'm meeting with a good friend, James Jenkins. He is the chair of the Pro-Life Speakers Bureau of California. And we've been talking about the things that need to happen in the battle of ideas. One of the most important, James, I think, is that pro-lifers themselves need to take time to be equipped for the battle.
Absolutely, Brian. And there's a lot of resources out there that are available to someone who's a layperson or someone who wants to be a speaker and do this on another level. Most people can do it if they just do a little bit of reading and listen to some podcasts. There's a lot of things that we have out there, educational tools. So
that's right. And I think the first thing is to realize, I know for me, one of the first things, I got involved in the Sonoma County Pro-Life Speakers Bureau back in 1979. So I'm giving my age away there a little bit. But the reality is I had to realize that I couldn't just be pro-life, that pro-life isn't just a case of my feeling, my opinion, my thinking something, that to really address this issue exists outside of us. I think a very common mistake that people make, and good people, by the way, is that they see that their church teaches, it might be the teaching, the doctrines of their church, or they see it directly in the Bible, and some other time we'll talk about that. The Bible is actually pretty clear about the life in the womb, the mystery of life, and that God forms us in the secret. But the fact is that if we reduce this to our personal faith, we actually provide a stumbling block to people who need to understand the objective facts. The right to life is actually based, according to our founders, in self-evident truths. We hold these truths to be self-evident. And the very first truth that's presented by the American founders is the right to life is the first and principal truth, the first and principal right that citizens need to have under a just government. And for this reason, governments are founded amongst men to ensure and protect the lives of the governed. Very important principle. If we only make it about our personal revelation, about our personal theology, we're actually moving away from the self-evident facts that we should be discussing and presenting to people who might disagree with us.
Absolutely, Brian. And I think one of the things that is important, along with the things you mentioned, is understanding the end game. Where are we going with this right to life? Do we just do activities like we talked about earlier? Or what is the end game? And I think the end game, you and I talk about this all the time, is to change the law to protect all Americans, all human beings, and their right to life.
That's right. And if you've heard our other program on this podcast, we've talked about how the laws came to be. That in 1973, really when the right to life movement, as we understand it now, was born, it was born because the Supreme Court stripped away all of the laws in all 50 states. There were laws in literally every state, even liberal states like California and Massachusetts and New York. They still had laws that gave some consideration to that child in the womb, that protected that child in the womb. Those laws had been put into place by the active work at that time in the 1800s, right after slaves were granted recognition under the 13th Amendment. There was active work by the American Medical Association, and it was led by a good doctor who had studied in Europe and came back to Massachusetts, where he was from. He was the founder of modern gynecology, and that was a man by the name of Horatio Storer. You don't hear that name much, but he is a hero because he said in studying childbirth, he actually had 2 patients. And he needed to see that his second patient, the child, was protected. He knew that that was a living, vibrant human being, and the laws weren't fully protecting those babies. He took it upon himself to make sure that all of the states had laws that protected that child. That came to be. But in 1973, the Supreme Court threw out all of those laws. So what we're talking about in the Right to Life movement, as James just said, our goal is to once again restore what are self-evident truths. This isn't about my religion or your religion or the religion of your listener. This is about a self-evident, scientifically provable truth that these are human babies. The father of gynecology is the one who made sure these laws were in effect in America. And Horatio Storer is a great hero, I believe. And if you have a chance, go back to our podcast, look at the podcast page, and you can see the story of Horatio Storer. Very important. But that's exactly right. We want to do what he did. We want to make sure the laws protect those that can't protect themselves. And that's why we exist as a movement.
So true, Brian. And one of the other things, I'll back up for a second, talking about our personal beliefs and our purpose, the Bible, which you can believe in, and I do happen to believe in it. But I want to take that argument off the table, not make that a stumbling block for the people that I'm talking to about the right to life. And so while that is significant in our lives, our religion, whether you're Catholic or whatever religion you are or not, that this is a real right, and we don't want to make that a sticking point. We want to talk about the child. And that's right. Really the key thing. So.
Exactly right. This debate shouldn't be about our theology or our philosophy or our feelings. And if I never existed, if I wasn't here at all, these are still facts that are objectively true. Truth is what is objectively, demonstrably, self-evidently presentable. And we can do that in the right to life. The facts are on our side. And facts are terrible things to waste. So if you are pro-life, don't waste the facts. Those tools are there. They're arrows for you to use in your quiver. They're tools for your tool chest of ideas. And we want to make sure that you're pounding the right nails and working in the right area so that you can help assert the right to life, and that we can once again protect those in our culture that need legal protection. We're going to be right back in just a minute, and we're going to talk about some of the very practical tools that you can get and you can use so that you're better prepared in this very, very real fight, this very real battle of ideas.
You're listening to Life Matters. If you have questions or comments for Life Matters, call 800-924-2490. Give us your name and the town you're calling from, and a quick question or comment. Right to Life University and the School of Life are there to equip you for the very real battles of ideas we are all confronting. Right to Life U addresses some of the more academically inclined issues. The School of Life addresses the practical side of applying yourself to common sense cultural change. Go to schooloflife.us. That's schooloflife.us or righttolifeuniversity.com to find out more. And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Well, welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on life, culture, and the very real battle, the battle of ideas. I'm here with James Jenkins. He's the chair of the California Pro-Life Speakers Bureau. And we're going to invite you to be involved if you live in California. If you're not in California, in any state in the nation, you can go to the state affiliate of National Right to Life. Go to nrlc.org. That's nrlc.org. And you can check on your state and get involved locally. Get involved locally with your local pro-life organization to be an advocate for truth, for what's really true, what's really right, what's really just, and that is every society has always known and has always been built on the principle that they must protect the vulnerable and the innocent. That's the reason that policemen have badges, that they have guns, so that there's a distinction between guilt and innocence, and that those who are innocent are protected. That's why societies exist. That's why laws exist. So in some ways, when we're talking about the right to life and the battle of ideas, we're actually talking about the basis of civilization. If human beings can be killed by those who are stronger than them, whether it be in euthanasia or in abortion, if a mother can violate the deep-held nature of womanhood and be convinced to kill her vulnerable child, then society is losing its moorings, folks. And it was said back in 73, if you lose the right to life for that child whom you can't see, then soon those whom you can see will also be killed for many of the same reasons. It's someone who's no longer wanted. They're not productive. They're holding us back. And that is very scary because the basis of all cultures is protection of those that can't protect themselves. So we were talking about some of the tools to help equip you in this battle. You had mentioned, James, a lady who I'm very fond of. She recently passed away, Jean Garton.
Yes.
Tell us about Jean Garton's book.
Jean Garton wrote the first pro-life book I read. It was given to me as a gift. And it was fantastic because it goes into the euphemisms that are used to advance the abortion issue.
That's right.
And she uncovers them.
She's awesome. Jean actually used to run abortion clinics. And I think in her story, the name of her book is...
Who Broke the Baby?
Who Broke the Baby. Yes. And it was her daughter that coined that phrase. She was actually making a presentation for choice because she ran an abortion clinic. And she had slides of abortions that she wanted to present as, oh, these are just blobs of tissue. Her daughter was supposed to be in bed and came out and saw the slide, and she asked her mommy,
who broke the baby?
And it floored her.
Yes.
And she realized, no, it's what we talk about. No, this is a self-evident truth. This is killing human babies. And Jean gradually changed and walked away from running abortion clinics and realized her responsibility to speak out.
Yeah, that is a great book to start with because it's a really simple, easy book. You can probably finish it in a night or two. And
That's
it's
right.
an easy read. Great little read.
Great book, a wonderful lady. And I like how she presents the issue very practically. And you could probably get that online, Amazon, a lot of places. I personally buy my books used online, but you could probably still get it new too. Another great book, and it's a series of books that I was introduced through, and those were the Willkie books that Dr. Jack Willkie, and Barbara, Dr. Willkie was MD, and Barbara an RN, and they together wrote the book. The first book was called Handbook on Abortion. Really an excellent book, and they wrote that, I believe, in 74. And then they kept changing it and advancing it. It basically was a question and answer book. Any of the questions you could come up with about abortion, they would answer with very clear and logical, but most important, documented facts. And in fact, it was used in many times by the national debate clubs because that was a national debate topic on abortion. And you could actually cut through the book and paste them onto your debate cards with all the citations. So it's full of facts, documented facts about the nature of the child in the womb and also about the nature of the laws. You know, the laws regarding unborn children are actually being violated by Roe v. Wade. It was Sandra Day O'Connor in one of her dissents that said, Roe v. Wade is on a collision course with itself. It has no foundation in either law or logic. And for her to say that is stunning. You know, that same child in the law that can be killed can also inherit property. That same child under the law that can be killed at will can also be eligible for Social Security payments. That same child in so many other aspects of the law is recognized as a human being deserving certain rights except the right to life. Yes. So it's a crazy decision, and both medicine, science, and the law, they're all showing that.
Brian, you look at the case of Scott Peterson, who was convicted of murdering his wife, Casey, I think her name was, while she was pregnant, and he got double murder for killing the child as well. And that was right here in the great state of California, which, as we know, is
a progressive state.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, and that's a very good point. I was going to say another great book talking about some of the tools and understanding, if you want to go to a little deeper level, was Frank Beckwith's book called Defending Life. And he kind of walks through all the abortion arguments that we typically hear, and some of them we don't.
Yes.
And points out the mistakes in logic, most of them what they call begging the question. They assume that the unborn are not human. So he walks through the logical mistakes. Very good book.
Yes. Beckwith is great. It's a great tool. Another is Greg Kokel.
I haven't got to his program yet called Making Abortion Unthinkable. I've heard about it. But
Greg's a great guy. Scott Klusendorf again.
Worked with Greg Kokel. Scott is a great friend of mine, and his book is called The Case for Life.
There you go.
And that is a great book. I think it might have been the second book I read. And it equips you very well for the typical arguments you get and how to walk through them, some of the laws and how they were argued. A great book. And he's a great speaker. He debates.
Yes.
If you get a chance to see him debate, you can pull him up online doing so. He makes some very clear, concise points.
Let me also, just shifting slightly, because it's very much a topic now and you need to be prepared for this, and that is the whole end-of-life debate.
Yes.
Assisted suicide and euthanasia is very much with us, and it may not be talked about too much where you are, but that's the problem. These things are swept under the rug, and someone who's written extensively, I admire him a lot, is Wesley Smith. Wesley Smith has several books. One is Forced Exit. Forced exit is actually a twist on the term final exit, which Derek Humphrey had written years ago to romanticize not only the practice of assisted suicide and euthanasia, but also what final exit did is it gave all sorts of stories full of pathos and emotions, and then how people killed themselves, and he literally would give the formula they used, whether it was through an oven or a revolver or different really sick ways of killing yourself. And he basically was presenting it as a good thing because, they were suffering. So suicide's a good idea. That's a very seductive approach, and we need to make sure that you cut through the emotions to get to what they're talking about. So Final Exit was the bad book by Derek Humphrey, and Wesley Smith talked about forced exit because, in point of fact, often those who do end up being killed, remember what assisted suicide is. It's not suicide. Suicide means you alone have killed yourself. Assisted suicide means an outside person is now involved and they walk away without any scrutiny. The assistant is now legally free to perpetrate a killing of a vulnerable person who's depressed usually, and they walk away. Often they can manipulate, and so that book is Forced Exit by Wesley Smith.
And Brian, just so you don't have to self-promote, I'm going to promote for you your book, which is called Death as a Salesman. And that book is about end of life as well. Great book I've read, and I've given that to several people, and it's about end of life. One of the questions I came up with from reading your book, and I recently posted this on my Facebook page, is people don't think about, I call it, who is watching the watchers. So even though people think that, I'm going to make my own decision, but in many of these cases, as your book pointed out, that person who thinks they're going to make their own decision is not making their own decision. Other people who have other interests are making those decisions for their end of life.
That's right.
Without their permission.
That's inescapable. And just the term assisted suicide, the assistant can say, and really should say, I can't help you die. No, let's get counseling for you. That's what typically is done. The desire for suicide is a cry for help. A third party should say, hey, let's get you that emotional help. It is the assistant who decides, no, I think I will help you.
Yes.
They're the decision maker. Lots to go into there, but thanks for that. There's also a video, a movie. It's a quick documentary, the same name, Death as a Salesman, What's Wrong with Assisted Suicide. The book is always better than the movie, just like in real life. So these are tools on all of these issues, and when we come back, we're now going to talk about things that you can do where you are. Again, one of our goals is not just to equip you with an understanding in the battle of life, the battle for our culture, and the battle of ideas, but we want to give you opportunity to do. If you do the words you understand to be true, now you're fulfilling something. So when we come back, we're going to talk about things for you to do so that you can engage in this very real battle of ideas.
You're listening to Life Matters.
Well, hi. I just wanted to thank you for joining me. I have good friends, children, young adults, and adults that have Down syndrome. And they are so loved. Their parents love them so much because they're the happiest people you'd ever want to know. I really love them. I'm going to tell you something, though, that's rather frightening. The government of France has now prohibited showing positive images of Down syndrome children and letting parents know how lovable they are. That's an actual law in France. Here in the U.S., 80-some-odd% of Down syndrome kids are killed by abortion before they're born. In France, it's 96%. So we're not a whole lot better. If you'd like to help out, you can go to the National Down Syndrome Society, ndss.org, to help out. That's ndss.org. We really are in a battle of ideas, and lives really are at stake.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Well, welcome back. You're listening to Life Matters, your program on life, culture, and the battle of ideas. James Jenkins and I have been talking about the facts of life, the information, the details that support the idea that the right to life should be preserved. And the facts are on our side, and facts are terrible things to waste. Now, I hope you understand that Planned Parenthood has gotten where it is because they're out there and they're taking advantage of people's misunderstanding. I often get calls, and California Pro-Life Council gets email requests for speakers all over the state. There are teachers that feel some obligation to let folks in that want to address social issues, and they'll let Planned Parenthood in even though they may not agree with them. They then call or email us and say, "Do you have a speaker? Would you come and speak?" Well, I can't. And James can't, and our various chapter folks, we just don't have enough people to fulfill this need. We live in the most populous state in the nation. And from San Diego to Eureka, from Redding to Pismo Beach to Blythe, there are people in schools that need to hear the facts and present it in a clear, factual manner. So we have what we call our school speakers, and it's part of our Speakers Bureau. And it's not that hard to be a school speaker. And the most important thing is that you have some training and understanding, and we'd like to make that available to you. We need you. There's work to be done. And if you will put your hand to this plow, we'll give you the tools necessary. James, you were talking earlier that a lot of times people don't like going to meetings.
Yes, I'm one of those people. But there's no meetings to attend when you're a speaker. I do one-on-one coaching via the phone. Like I said, I'm up here in the Sacramento area with you, Brian. But we might have people in San Diego, up to Redding, and places like that we can't necessarily go to in an easy way. So we want to coach you through the phone. We don't want to make obstacles for us or you.
That's right. And the fact is, there's a lot of people listening right now that you're already ready. You just need the opportunity. And so what we'll do, if you're in California, go to the California Pro-Life Council webpage. We're the state affiliate of National Right to Life. That's californiaprolife.org, californiaprolife.org, and go to the Speakers Bureau or the School Speakers page and click on that, and that will get you directly in touch with James Jenkins. And what we need to know is that you do understand the parameters of this issue and how to frame it in a way that others who are not of your faith and may not fully agree with your feelings, but they need to still know the facts and why those facts indicate that these lives that once were protected, before 1973, these lives were protected, why we should consider protecting them again, and why the failure to protect them has led to the killing of other human beings for supposedly good social reasons. We want you equipped to explain why. So if you go to californiaprolife.org, and again, if you're in another state, your state affiliate has these tools too. Go to nrlc.org, and you can click on your state affiliate and find out how you can get involved. So, James, I know that I've had calls about Planned Parenthood speaking in a school. I was recently asked to go to Los Gatos to speak because a Planned Parenthood speaker had been there. And I have gone on these trips, and it's, for us, it's a 2.5-hour drive, another 2.5-hour drive. There's
At
five.
least.
Yeah, so there's 5 hours gone for me. And I know for a fact there are people in the San Jose, Los Gatos area that really could have handled that. And we just need to know that you're there and that you are willing to present this as the self-evident truth that our founders asserted the right to life to be. Yeah. They said it's a self-evident truth. It's objective facts. The facts are on our side. If you're willing to present the facts in order to defend the vulnerable, then we want you out there, and we want to help you in this battle.
Absolutely, Brian. We want to multiply our message to reach a lot of people, obviously, because Planned Parenthood is doing that as well. And as we talked about earlier, the euphemisms that they're using to reach people who might be just in the middle and haven't really even formed an opinion sometimes, that we can educate them. You're talking about choice. Mm-hmm. Hear both sides of it. And so we need presenters to present that case, to let them make up their mind and give them, like you said, the facts.
That's right. It's a great opportunity for you, or if you know someone, a friend of yours, someone in your church, in your community, in a Bible study you're in, that really has a passion for this issue and wants to stand up in the gap for those that can't speak for themselves. It's a great opportunity. And again, you're part of a nationwide movement. We're part of a team that is focusing on the real issue, which is, will the law protect those that can't protect themselves? So by being part of this team, you're doing it locally in your area, and we're honored to have you. So go to californiaprolife.org. That's californiaprolife.org. Click on the speakers button. To be a speaker, say, yes, I want to be a speaker. And then you'll send an email, and it'll get to James, and he'll touch base with you. And we want to make sure you're equipped to deal with the facts of life, because the facts are on our side, and facts are terrible things to waste. So thank you for listening to Life Matters, your program on life, culture, and the battle of ideas. And if you're not in California, make sure that you go to nrlc.org, where you can find out how to dig in your state. If you're outside of the U.S., there's actually a worldwide movement, International Right to Life. I won't go into details on that. But if you're in the English-speaking world, SPUC is the Society for the Protection of Unborn Children. And in most Commonwealth countries, there are either a SPUC affiliate or a Right to Life affiliate. And they're great people, and they're fighting the same fight. They want culture preserved. Really, if you think about it, we're the heirs in Western civilization. It's all been handed to us now. It's all been given into your hands. And there are people who want to tear down the foundations that have brought us here. You need to stand for that which is right, because if the foundations are lost, we've got nowhere else to stand. So this is an opportunity to stand strong, to make a difference, and to speak up for life.
Learn more about everything in today's show online at lifematters.life, where you'll find all the resources you need to protect life. Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life. Wherever you are in the nation, you can find out more at National Right to Life. You can find vital pro-life information and also find the access to your state and local Right to Life affiliate. Get informed and get involved.